one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
Welcome to Discover Crypto. I've got double audio here and I do not know where it is at. Let me figure that out really quick. There it is. We've got the market just chopping up. Bears are just getting absolutely slaughtered. But what we're actually seeing within the bulls, the strength, is a setup that I think is going to wreck a lot of people. Yes, I'm so excited about the price action today. Yes, I'm so excited about what we're seeing with this move just melting to the upside. And what I'm about to tell you is not to suggest that everything is over, but something that I think very few people are paying attention to. So let's get into it because we've got some clear signs and signals, not only for Bitcoin, but also for the crypto market. I don't know why that kind of went out of focus there. Let's zoom in just a little bit. There we go. Rewind. Market's bullish. Let's get into it. Sorry about that. I completely lost my train of thought there. But let's dive in because we see the market absolutely tapping right near the all-time highs for Bitcoin, and we're seeing the altcoin market wake up as well. And right now, we see this back up above $4.2 trillion, and this is feeling good. And yet we're still seeing some people on the sidelines, other people worried that maybe this is near a top, and other people that just don't know what to do. So I'm here for you to give you some of my thoughts, my opinions on what we're seeing in the market, where it's going, because we have been nailing here at the Discover Crypto channel. We've been nailing the direction of this market over this last several months. Really over the last 10 years, but on this channel over the last several months. And what I'm talking about here is not just a move up here on the CME futures, but we want to pay attention to this because when we see the markets close tonight over the weekend, we could be setting up an incredible opportunity in the market. Now, what am I talking about? Because when we come over here to this chart right here, this is actually the Bitcoin chart, not the futures. What do we got measured out here? We have 8 days measured out here. Cool. We also got this move from this bottom all the way up here. In fact, this went higher from when I took that, about 14%, about $15,000. Now, what I'm talking about here is this tweet that I did about 8 days ago. Not only a tweet, but a freaking video breaking down exactly what I was thinking. This was 8 days ago, which is measured back exactly to the point that we were at right here where this reversed to the upside. So for those of you that were paying attention, and interestingly, this video where I essentially called the very likely bottom and the bounce from that zone was one of the lowest performing videos we've had in several weeks. It's funny how the data people don't want to hear it tends to be the best data you can get. This is when everybody was scared. They were sure it was going to go down. So reversal, no, I'm not going to pay attention to that. Those of you that paid attention saw massive moves to the upside. And it wasn't just that video. Let's go back here. This is on the Discover Crypto channel. It's all in here in the books. Boom season 2 weeks ago. I talk very heavily about what was going on with the setups and signals for the likely upside price action that was about to happen. Beyond that, we also talked about right here, shakeout. The crypto crash signals a massive rally for Bitcoin and top altcoin picks. And we talked about some of those altcoins and many of the other altcoins that were likely going to moon. This was about 10 days ago. And then, of course, I broke down this to reversal 8 days ago. 8 days was the day that we bottomed there. And then, of course, we continued. The dump, oh, my God, it's canceled. And for those of you that watch this, I very specifically, opposite of what you see on this title, opposite of what you see on the thumbnail, I was capturing with the title and thumbnail the fear people were thinking. And what I talked about there was this is nothing canceled about what we're seeing. We're seeing an absolute moonshot coming into the price action soon. And then I talked about the trap, the reversal trap that people were paying attention to in the wrong directions, but also paying attention to for the setups that could be coming. So let's dive into what we're seeing, because on the liquidation heat map, we do have some data about some liquidity that is below price action down in here. So as excited as I am about this, remember, price action very regularly goes to where there's huge pools of liquidity. So yes, I'm very bullish. but I've got my eyes like a hawk on this zone down here, sub 120. What this tells me as a bull is that if price pulls back to this zone, there's nothing bearish about this whatsoever. In fact, the signal here is suggesting it would be understandable, in fact, even likely for price to come down and tap this before the price action moves continues to the upside. Am I saying we are going sub 120 from this move where we're at right now? I'm not saying that. I'm saying the setup is right now because people are going over leveraged. Again, the dominance here is unhealthy market structure because we've got a ton of open interest that's coming in below us, meaning people that have gone long that provides free liquidity for price action to come down and scoop this before we go up. The other trap that we're seeing here, and this is very important, everybody, is that this is not going to play out 100% of the time, all the time, especially when you get a seismic shift in the bullish narrative around an asset and the market is ready to move. All of this can be absolutely left behind. So the point here is that the traps we need to pay attention to are the emotional traps within ourselves, poor strategy being deployed in the market, and in addition to that, not thinking that because we get retraces to liquidity zones, it always has to happen. So if you're selling here because you're going to get back in when it gets down here, you may just end up having the market leave you behind. If you're buying a top here and you get scared and the price pulls back a little bit, so you sell here, you're also trapping yourself out. So what we're watching for on the market right now is, yes, this move feels good, especially from that area that we called the reversal very specifically. This feels good, but I would not be surprised beyond the liquidity, beyond liquidation heat maps, just general normal bull market trend behavior is for this price action. If it were, again, if we do get some weakness here and comes back to test somewhere in this region from that 117 up to $120,000 range. This has nothing to do with the liquidation heat map. We're looking at the price structure where all of this area chopped right over here. And we see that extended with the box that this is within right now. You'll be able to see this a little bit more clearly if I zoom in on this, and you can see right here. See this box? This is that area we are fairly not surprised, but it was bullish that we sliced, boom, right through it. So what I'd like to see is a revisit back down to here for some strength, or down as low as, 117, maybe even a bit of a washout below that for a really good bear trap, and then a move up. If we hover in this area, again, if we hover in this area and we don't get the retrace everybody's hoping for so they can stack more before it goes up, because this market is getting in that sort of up only vibe right now where the news cycle is going to start feeling like, how is all this bullish news coming out right now? I was talking with TJ about it this morning. We do a lot of media market buying and understanding how working with different developers and groups and stuff over the last 10 years, where we do understand, we do have inside knowledge of not every asset, but of how some of these news stories get held and put out, where you get a bullish swing in the market where the sentiment and the momentum is strong. And so you have this sort of backlog, not us specifically. I'm talking about the different teams out there that actually have news to share. They stack things up sometimes. And then when you get this positive price action, it's like, well, how come there's all of this positive supporting bullish momentum with these announcements now? It's because of that. And it's not just right now. Yes, we're looking at price action. Yes, we're looking for a level, but down here. But again, we want to pay attention to the what's happening with the news stories, how it affects sentiment. And we see this also directly in the data that we're going to look at below down here. What's happening with RSI? What's happening with the money flow? On the price action, do we build a bit of a bull flag here and then continue? Or do we pull back and then continue? Or do we push up beyond this into a new all-time high, pull back, break below this range, trap people down, and then make the move? There's going to be whale games. I mean, rinse and repeat over and over again as the market's getting more exciting with everything that we're seeing. So yes, we do have, based on price action, not liquidity zones, we do have that level of $117,000 to $120,000. Interestingly, you see on the liquidation heat map here, that also happens to be where there's also a lot of liquidity. So there's a double whammy there for potential incentives for the price action to move down. Now, if you are aware of that, you can take advantage of it, because we are entering a time in the market where I do think it's going to really surprise people, even some of the most bullish people. Yes, we've had the data on this, but then we've also got other things like this. Bitcoin hodlers are chilling. after the world is waking up and finally recognizing that Bitcoin is a global safe haven asset. We're seeing gold rise tremendously. We're seeing stocks, S&P 500, the amount of people that have investments in the average family household here in the U.S. at the all-time high for how much they have in their net worth invested into into investments and investment portfolios, meaning the percentage of their household wealth. I don't mean the total amount ever. Per household, the ratio that they have in investments is highest ever in equities. So we're seeing people kind of wake up that you can't just have money in dollars anymore. You need investments. And as people look to what's going on in the world and they realize, oh, wow, gold is mooning. There's a bit of a flight to safety right now. But then also we have this other tech asset out there that is the best store of value you've ever seen. And it's an amazing speculative asset class that is Bitcoin. And we're seeing the world wake up to this. I showed you yesterday the top 25 institutional investors, AKA institutional Bitcoin allocators that are just stacking Bitcoin ETFs in the billions of dollars. And the world is waking up to this as we speak. And so when we understand that as the world's waking up to this, institutions, corporations, corporate strategies, ETFs, sovereign bodies, different governments and states. And then you realize, just ignore all of that, looking at this chart right here. If you don't know what this chart is, there has been a seismic, overwhelming shift in the market since the halving last year, April 19th, 2024. And what this means is one of the most bullish things that you could ever imagine within an asset class. The price on Bitcoin and just the growth of crypto globally in the last 16 years has been in the face of the entire world financial structure, global financial, the TradFi, governments, everything out there has been against Bitcoin, and it has risen from 32 cents. Look at this. All the way back, all the way up here to $20,000, back down to $3,500, up to $69,000, back to $15,000. And then at this point right here, and more specifically right here on the chart, but this is the halving. I want you to notice something. What is this right here? This big orange wave. In the face of the world being against Bitcoin, Bitcoin rose so tremendously. At the same time, the world was against it, but at the same time that we are having pretty massive inflation in Bitcoin. But Bitcoin was supposed to be something outside of the broken inflation fiat systems. Yes. However, the way the supply curve works on Bitcoin was there was a hell of a lot of inflation early on, because you had to do that to incentivize miners and stuff like that. So people were getting paid 50 Bitcoin per block to mine every 10 minutes. And every year, every 4 years, we have a halving. In reality, it's every 210,000 blocks, which translates to about 4 years. The halving, like my mother asked me, Kelly, are you worried? The halving's happening. Does that mean the value of Bitcoin goes in half? No, the halving, and this is foundational for you to understand, is the amount of rewards that goes to miner, which is new Bitcoin created, which is inflation in the Bitcoin ecosystem. The inflation gets cut in half every halving. The inflation gets cut in half again on the halving. The inflation gets cut in half. And what are you noticing about this supply arc? The available supply. What are we seeing? We reached an inflection point at the last halving. This has nothing to do with corporations, with governments, with all that. All of that is just absolute platinum level rocket ship turbo booster to what we're going to see in the supply demand dynamic in the Bitcoin asset class as we look basically perpetually and infinitely into the future. We have now eclipsed basically the peak of available supply, and we're going to be in a persistent downtrend for the rest of the life of Bitcoin, in my opinion. And that is because the halving has reduced the new inflated supply so much, and it's only getting smaller from here. And the psychology of where this Bitcoin sits in the global asset framework, where this Bitcoin sits in the adoption framework, where this asset sits in the awareness and the utility, all of these things are at the same point, that just because also the halving supply has cut down to such a nominal level, now we have, at this point moving forward, the entire world is coming to support Bitcoin, Governments are building in Bitcoin strategies and strategic Bitcoin reserve strategies, and corporations are able to get involved in major ways. And the tax rulings are changing. The market structure bills are changing. So on a day like today, this should not be boring to you, because on a day like today, where we're seeing 12-hour candles or even daily candles, look at this massive move. And people are a bit worried about where this is going. I just bring up some of this very important foundational data, because this talks about the midterm into the forever timeframe for Bitcoin only becoming a stronger asset class. So will we get some moves to the downside after we have these massive candles? Yes. Is it over? You're out of your mind and you do not understand math if that's the case. But that's okay if you don't, because you're here watching, which means you have an appetite to learn. And that's what this is about. We're doing this together. We are so back, says Multi-Sig Dummy. How you doing? We got Christian in the house. How you doing? Let me take that off the screen. I don't know why that's on there. There we go. Nick Dunn, what's up, Kelly? Objectively, real reality, objectively. But guys, we're seeing signs. We're seeing signals. We're seeing the tingles that you're getting on your back because you've been hustling in this market for so long, and it's finally happening. And that's this. Again, I talked about this, this at the inflection point. People still are wondering. This time is not different. This cycle is different for those reasons. April 2024, the last halving marked an inflection point. Bitcoin available supply is no longer expanding, meaning we're getting a tighter and tighter supply and demand dynamic, meaning every bit of demand is starting to gain a bit into exponential effect on the available supply, which has direct impact on price. So yes, this time is different. Exponential demand, not even from anything on here, from all of the appetite coming in from ETFs, corporate treasuries, government stack, all of those things. And then also the changing sentiment of people realizing they need to hold on to this. It's also priced at a level now where people realize they need to hold on to it and have healthy security. That's why, by the way, if you're stacking, make sure you head over to getarculus.com, use code DC20. Do not be actively just navigating the crypto world and putting yourself at risk to lose everything you're working towards. Protect your crypto, protect your future. Getarculus.com. The best crypto cold storage solution out there. I love it. I think all of you will too. I know many of you out here have them. I just wanted to throw that in there because it is very important. And then, of course, we're having less supply, less available supply. People are hodling more. There's less new Bitcoin being minted. There's so much bullishness in terms of the landscape looking forward from where we're at. And then we talk about the news cycles. Remember, I said before, we're getting that bullish momentum, and now we're starting to see this sort of like stacking of bullishness just persisting more and more. This is more bullish than you know. Samsung adds Coinbase crypto access for 75 million users. Well, this puts pressure on competitors. This puts major pressure on competitors. What's one of those competitors? Apple is a major competitor in the smartphone niche. So not only is this great that Samsung's adding crypto Coinbase access, basically, everybody that's going to have the Samsung on these new Samsung devices, the Galaxy devices, are also already going to be plugged into Coinbase One. Okay. But beyond that, wait, there's more. We also have this right here. Samsung ships 260 million phones a year. Now Samsung Galaxies in the US can access Coinbase directly from Samsung Wallet, plus 3 months of the Coinbase One, blah, blah, blah. But this also is going to start expanding in other territories. The amount of access these networks of businesses have from the user base of Samsung or Apple, or what we're seeing with Meta, what we're seeing with Instagram, what we're seeing with WhatsApp, Telegram. Telegram's already beat all these other folks to the punch with what they're doing with Ton Network, with Ton Foundation, with the integration of crypto wallets. One click right there in the Telegram app. Massive, billions of people using Telegram. We are seeing the pressures be put on other businesses, other assets, other groups and communities and organizations that they've got to get with the times or be displaced entirely. That's why this news story is so important. Much like when we were talking about many years ago, we were talking about, well, when we get one of these big three, big four, big five, like Google, like Amazon, like Netflix was a big one. We're going to see how that goes with all the downward trajectory they're seeing from all the pressure out there. But when we start seeing these crypto integrations in major tech companies, the sort of parroting effect tends to happen very quickly because major businesses do not want to be left entirely out of a niche and have minimal market share in that niche because they were so slow to act. So we're going to be seeing some major shifts, I think, in the very near future. And speaking of all these major companies and major institutions, Walmart also owned fintech company OnePay to integrate Bitcoin payments into their app. We're starting to get these major swings in positivity. And then it's not just Bitcoin, guys. The altcoins are seeing some massive growth as well, and especially in corporate awareness, Wall Street awareness. $1 billion Avalanche Treasury buy. Avalanche Treasury Co. has unveiled plans to purchase $1 billion worth of Avalanche in partnership with Mountain Lake Acquisition Corp. What we're seeing right now is not something I could really even imagine. I imagined it 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but it felt like it was going to be so much further off because how the slow pace of government bureaucracy. But all that changed January 20th of this year with the new crypto-friendly, empowered administration. And we're seeing things move at the speed of light in terms of how quick can we get crypto, blockchain, digital assets integrated into not only healthy regulations so everybody knows what to do, but also support so we can rebuild this infrastructure, which is going to happen. And we're seeing it happen before our eyes. So we're also seeing the race to stack from corporate players and trying to find the assets that are going to have the biggest upside. So this is incredible. Seeing $1 billion purchase coming in worth of Avalanche. But wait, there's more. It's not just Avalanche. We just got news here also from James Safar. I'm going to be having him on soon. But he says Rex Shares and Osprey Funds, doesn't matter if you don't know who they are, major players in the traditional finance world, just filed for 21 crypto ETFs. Yes, 21. What are they? Aave, ADA, Cardano, Atom, Cosmos, AVAX, Bitcoin Cash, Crypto.com, Crow, Polkadot, Dot, Athena, ENA, HBAR. Are those HBAR-barians out there? Hype, Hyperliquid, ETF, Injective, Link ETF, Litecoin ETF, Nearend ETF, OKB ETF. I feel like Oprah with ETFs. You get an ETF and you. Now, this is very bullish, but there's also some trouble there within. We are still fundamentally setting up the architecture, the foundational layer for what is going to build out, for what is going to take off, but the truth is, many of the retail market participants out there are going to see this and think because the ETF's coming, this asset has to boom. Maybe not every one of these does. And I'm not going to say which one, this or that. That's not the point. The point here is there's going to be a bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news event on probably every one of these as these ETFs come due. And truth be told, there's a lot of ETFs that have a number of different applications that are out on them. The question is going to be, are we going to see sort of a sporadic approvals for ETFs all in the same asset? Like, for instance, if there's 14 different near ETFs, are they going to really massively group them together and give large approvals in batches? Or are they going to do it over time? Well, how is that going to affect what the price action is? There's a lot of things to consider here. So while this is great, and I do think that this is going to bring a lot of capital into the altcoin ecosystem, you have to also realize that these things are not immediate. These things are also, we're starting to get in the phase with crypto where, yes, things are moving quickly and it is so exciting, but we're starting to get in that stage with crypto where people are just expecting every time you buy a coin that it's going to pump like a meme coin. But remember, most meme coins pump and dump in the matter of 48 hours. So let's get out of that mentality. If you find a good meme coin and it pumps and it sustains it, well, more power to you. The truth is that's a lottery system. And when we're looking at the altcoin market, there's still a bit of a lottery system within the altcoin market because there's not a huge amount of clarity and like an absolute list, except for with something like Ethereum and Chainlink, Solana as well is right up there as well, that has like an inordinately major long list of integrations. And we're still at this sort of feeling out where the world's financial plumbing is going to sit and get integrated in what ways. And also, it's not just about this. It's not just where are the partnerships and where are the integrations. You have to realize this is also going to be very retail and consumer driven. If you get a huge number of people on this asset, even though you hate it, but for whatever reason, the right partnership with the right person, this person knows that guy, that asset gets integrated over this other one that's better. There's a lot of test netting that's going on. I don't mean specifically with the coins themselves, meaning how they're going to get integrated and also which ones the consumers are going to really get behind. So it's still very venture capital-y right now in terms of the aspect when you consider the altcoin market. But there's so much money to be made and so much money to be lost. So many hearts are going to be broken. So you got to find assets. You got to look at like the video DZ did the other day that not many people watch. Guys, there is no magic bullet in this market. When you see DZ, who's been in this market for years, break down an incredible tool for you to help you do great diligence, real good due diligence that can give you a front-running signal for a buy that nobody else has. Take advantage of that. Use DeFi Llama. Get over there on Deck Screener if you're on there. But don't just look at what's moving. Look at the different relationship of other things behind the price that can give you a front-running sort of signal before price happens. That's why fundamentals are incredible. And the fundamental data within a chain, whether it's the revenue, whether it's the fees, whether it's growing adoption, growing transactions. If you see a major like tripling of transactions as well as fees going up dramatically and prices sitting flat or still slightly turning down, I'd start looking like, oh, maybe there's signal here. So then you get into the chart and then you go into the socials. You use this web of information to help identify the best plays and also the most risk adjusted. But I am so bullish on what's happening. Tex-Mex, Biomex, what's up, Kelly, my Air Force brother? You know, Tex-Mex, I got a problem with you, dude. I went to sleep the other night on our fantasy football league and I was ahead. Sure, I was going to win. I woke up and you beat me by like 0.3 points on there. It's like, what a swing. So I don't really have a problem with you. I thought that was quite funny. So shout out to you, my friend. Big love to you. But what else we got? We got a couple other things I want to look at, and that is right here, the others chart, kind of giving that signal on where we're at. And remember, I've shared this several times, but I want to share it again. And that is where we're at right here. It's not just a one-off look. Looking at this chart right here, looks pretty darn similar, doesn't it? This structure right here. Now you zoom it out. We got the rise, fall, launch. Now the question is this the fall? Because back here we had a pretty big washout to the downside, but remember, this was a black swan. So I do have the red box there in case we do get something that does flush people out because everybody's going to over leverage. But I'm not convinced this is really going to hit. I just have that there because we saw that happen last time. As it stands right now, we did get a move to the downside. Pushed up. We did get another move to the downside, bullishly. Broke out and have been kind of hovering here. So it wouldn't surprise me if the next down move was something that really just flushed people like into here and then having the move up to the upside if we get a pretty big washout to the downside. But right now it is heightened emotion trap season in this market because right now people are starting to feel like they're missing the boat. So they better go all in on this asset. On that, we might, well, now is the signal. So I'm going to go 14x on my entire portfolio, and then you lose everything. Don't do that. Right now is a time where the structure is set up such that the upside is so much more likely. We could get a big washout because everybody's over leveraged. Know that. But right now is about finding opportunities. For me, any dip, I'm buying any dip. Any of the moves to the upside, I'm excited about. But I have been stacking over the last several years. Okay. Like many of you have along with me on BitLab Academy, on here, on Discover Crypto, in the Discord. We've been breaking things down. AV&T, I know, is moving up today. I saw that. Somebody posted that on the chat over there on the side. Let's look at that. Getting a nice little move to the upside. Okay, boom, there it is right there. Nice, came right into the zone. Boom, right here. All this chop liquidity was. Great. Now we got a bit of an Adam and Eve. It's kind of ugly, but it is an Adam and Eve. It's basically this move right here and then the roundingness. This, so I wouldn't even call this a pump yet. This is making a move back to reclaim where this neckline area was right here. So this is the first area we have to tackle at $1.32. The next level we have to tackle $1.36. So let's, instead of just drawing a line, let's draw a zone right there like this. This way we're capturing the top there and the bottom there. Now, if you zoom this out, I want you to notice something. Look at where all these levels are. Rejected back here too. Found support right here as well. So this is going to be a pretty important level for AV&T Avantis. Peter Thiel, Coinbase Ventures, both invested in this one. Smaller market cap coin. So risky play. But I'd be watching for this. Potentially maybe another little move down and then push up. Chop in here, and then I think we'll start getting some pretty big moves if the market maintains the bullish posture. We also see it, ENA, right? Athena had a little bit of trouble here. And this is a little bit concerning because just looking at the chart, double top there, right? Oh, broke down. But again, I feel more convicted right now that the market is setting up some of these bearish structures, and I could be entirely wrong. So do your own research. But setting up some bullish structures to trap people before faking people out and just continuing to the upside. That's on the 3-day chart though. So what does it look like on the 4-hour chart? 4-hour chart, we had a downtrend. Okay. It's broken out of the downtrend. Boom, broke out of the downtrend, found some support and is pushing up. Kind of bull flaggy right here. This is telling me, look where it came to, right to the previous range low. So I'd be watching for the price action here. If we can get back above this, testing into the 70-cent range, excuse me. I always get the hiccups when I'm on with you guys. Up into the 70-cent range, and then the next steps up here, 74 cent. What I'm doing is I'm just looking where the chop zones were, where there's going to be liquidity interest. The next one is up here at this level. The next one's probably going to be up here at about 79 cents. But people keep seeing these upper targets, and they get lost looking there, not looking at where you're at. So these upper targets are exciting. But remember, this market is faking people out. It's like, oh, let's get it. Oh, no, we're actually breaking down. And so I'd be watching. If we do move a little lower, I'd be watching for the target here about, I'd say about 59.8, right in this region right here. It almost hit it. So that would end up forming like kind of like a falling, like a bit of a falling wedge. You can't see that line because it's barely visible. You see that would form like a bit of a falling wedge if this came down in there, which would still be very bullish. And the bullish expectation, I fear, is what's going to wreck a lot of people with some moves to the downside. And then people thinking it's over, so they short, and then it only reverses. What if we bought alts on the dump we had? Should we de-risk on the pump, or isn't likely to go lower low? I mean, we're in a testy time right now in the market because there are a lot of people out there that are considering very heavily this idea that the 4-year cycle is still going to play out. And in many ways, I think it is going to play out in part. I think we are going to have a bit of a run up here in October, likely in November as well. And remember, we're in this weird stage right now where we have a government shutdown. There's probably going to be some turbulence around that, as you know, so the administration cuts some different programs and the upheavals that causes, and some of the I hope there's just not a lot of unrest and stuff like that. But in terms of the structure in the crypto asset class, I see higher, and I do see with higher comes the pullback, comes a retrace. But I do think whatever downside price action we have, or even if it's a slightly down chop for 4 months, 5 months, which could wreck a lot of people. And it's not unprecedented because we've seen it before. We saw it last year, 7-month sideways action with $20,000 range chopping until it finally, that's when it went from 74 to 48. And then it went from 48 to 109. Remember that? So we just need to be careful here, because then we got other things like Solana, you know, kind of, we have so many lines on this chart. Let's see, let's delete that. Okay, it's on the 1 hour. That's why. There we go. All right. So this broke down, came back up, rejected right around the 382, came up into the golden pocket area. We're chopping in this zone between the 786 and the golden pocket. Money flow, I mean, there's not much signal there on the. So RSI tried to wash out down below the 50 line, but look, it's back above. The money flow is telling it's kind of a weak story here. I think people are kind of in disbelief with the move right now, and there's going to be some focus on Bitcoin at the moment as well. And we can see this on the dominance chart right here. You can see that this is still kind of up. I think the alts are waiting for kind of a concerted push for this to break down from this and start to move down before you start seeing a real move in the altcoins. Because you see, even Ethereum had a nice move up, but you look at ETH to Bitcoin and it's flat. You see the difference there? ETH to dollars, it's going up in dollar value, but the ETH to Bitcoin, it's staying flat. So it's moving only about the same speed as Bitcoin at the moment. So if this can break out, if we can see things like XRP and BNB, which is BNB's been on an absolute tear. Look at that. BNB is just absolute moonshotting here. So things are feeling good. We're seeing the popcorn effect throughout the altcoin ecosystem. So it's exciting. If something's moving and you missed it, you missed it. Wait for a pullback to get in. If something like Bitcoin is up, if you see a dip, it doesn't mean it's over. Bull market trends have rise, retrace, continuation to the upside until that reversal happens. I think we're in the middle of something right now that's going to be fantastic. Going into this weekend, let's look at what I think for the weekend right now. Guys, I mean, it's hard to say on the weekend. Currently, we have a bit of a kind of a triple top here as it stands. The money flow on the daily look is ticking back to positive. The RSI is back above the 50 line, so bulls kind of are in control. I'd be a little bit cautious here, not in a bad way, but if the market runs away here over the weekend, we may have a gap down, which would be very healthy. It'll give us a parameter, for instance, to come back and fill that gap, maybe test these highs, and then have a continuation. If the market breaks down from here, it's not the end of the world. If it breaks down after tonight, Saturday and Sunday morning, and the market opens on futures down here, for instance, then you have this massive gap above us where the price tends to want to refill. And I do think that we are, again, I think we're in trap territory right now in both directions. So let the markets play out on the smaller time frames, look for opportunities. But I appreciate you. Hey, Andrew Baca, I appreciate you. Kenny Carnial. So everybody here right now, we got 2,729 people tuned in across the different platforms. I can see it all consolidated all into one number right here. Big love to each and every one of you. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend. And I want everybody in the room right now, help us drive some engagement in the chat. Also down below, if you're watching this later, I want you to say, do you think Bitcoin's price is going to open on Sunday when the futures market opens? Are we going to open with a gap below or a gap above, or price isn't moving? Let me know what you think is going to happen this weekend, and we're going to be getting back into it. There's some videos coming out tonight, more videos tomorrow and Sunday, and then we will see you back live on Monday. I love you guys. I appreciate you. That's all I got. Adios, muchachos. Wanted to say, shout out Kenny C. I saw your super chat at the very end. IO Kelly, your videos have changed my bags and positively and has helped me through a rough patch. Hey man, I'm here. I want to help you guys, not just with crypto. I want us all to have a better lens on the world. I want to actually highlight something before we actually go. One, make sure you're following the Discover Crypto page right here at Discover Crypto _. Make sure you're following the correct one. Make sure you're following me right here at Kelly Kellum. It's two L's, not I's, not ones, not dots, Kelly Kellum. But it's right here. This is very important. Not that right there. That's important too. Where did it go? I swear I posted it today. Where is it at? Right here. This is very important for every one of us. You sense that you should be following a different path, a more ambitious one. You felt that you were destined for other things, but you had no idea how to achieve them. And in your misery, you began to hate everything around you. Why I find this very important for every single one of us, if we're becoming irritable about things that we should not be irritable about, If we're just snappy, we're just like jealous and ego and triggered and can't believe that guy cut me off. And, oh man, that guy's a jackass and all this finger pointing. It's all here. It's all in you. Everything that is beautiful around you is through the lens you're looking at. Everything that's terrible around you, and I'm not talking about geopolitics in the world. I'm talking about in your immediate life, the way you navigate the world. Things can be as beautiful and empowering as you see them and you focus into being, and things can be in dark. And the people, there's a proverb, old man on a hill sitting there looking down at a city, and a family walks by and he says, "Hey, old man, moving to the city. What's the city like?" And the old man says, "Well, hey man, why are you moving? What's going on? Why are you coming here?" And the guy goes, "Well, everybody, there was robbers and cheats and liars. It was just so terrible where I was. So I wanted to move my family somewhere better." And the guy said, "Well, I'm sorry to tell you, this place is going to be the same. And then, 20 minutes later, another family walked by, and a guy asked the old man, says, "Hey, old man, this city we're moving, can you tell us about it?" And the guy goes, "Well, what happened? Why are you moving from the other city? But I'll tell you about this one, but what's going on?" He goes, "Oh, the place was fantastic. My neighbors are excellent, but I got a job opportunity over here, so I'm coming here." And the old man said, "Well, you're going to be lucky to find it's exactly the same here." And that is the truth of 99.9% of everything. Of course, there's off things that happen that are trauma. I broke 22 bones in a motorcycle accident for somebody running me off the road. I was in a coma for a month, hospital 3 months, cast in crutches 8 years. Then I was in another accident when I lived in Thailand, ended up in the hospital in Bangkok for over a month, and in a wheelchair for 6 months. And I had moments of complete just, oh, why me? Doesn't matter why. Right now, what can I do in this moment? What is my immediate next step that I can improve something in somebody else's life? If your focus is gratitude and giving, and your focus is next steps, not, oh, this sucks, why don't I have? The same thing is true in these markets when we're looking at the price. How come I can never take a winning trade? How come every time I buy, the market drops? You're lamenting being a victim. Let's stop doing that. Let's say, okay, this hasn't worked. What can I change? What is step one to change 1%? Let's all learn and grow and love together. And if somebody falls off their path and they're a jackass for a day, if they say something snide, that's their thing. We don't need to embody that. Let's all grow together, guys. I love you. You've helped me outside of crypto in my mindset post-surgery, or post-service. So shout out to you, Tex-Mex. But that's all I got today, everybody. I love you. Let's be positive. Let's practice some gratitude. And hey, man, the market's here. The hunt for Green October. Let's go. Adios, guys.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.